Hello. Sorry if I seem a bit frazzled. It's been one of those weeks where there's been some really exciting stuff going on that I've been super busy with. And of course, some, legislative, government-y stuff that I've been busy with. But first and foremost, if you are listening to this on Friday evening, I'm sorry. Don't you have anything better to do on your Friday evening? Okay. No judgment. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching it. Or if you're watching over the weekend, this is supposed to close Friday evening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it remained open over the weekend. So if you're watching this, please take a second, pause this video, and go visit this QR code. I'll put a QR code up here so you can easily get there. I'll put a link in the description, but what this is the Governor of Oregon's Prosperity Council. So Tina Kotek established a Prosperity Council to help advise on Oregon prosperity. You remember me talking about that previously? So this council, I know it will come as a shock, but they've put out a survey. And they would like your response to that survey. The only problem is I didn't hear about this survey until about 48 hours before it was due. And since I don't get to talk to you until Fridays anyway, this is when I get the opportunity to tell you that we have to fill this thing out and we should spend some time doing it. And I will share later in secrets if you're looking for some inspiration or whatever. I'm not terribly inspiring, but I'll provide some of the content that I provided in that response, just to give you a little bit of the flavor of how you might respond to the questions the Prosperity Council is asking. But please, maybe put this in the background, go visit the forum, start filling it out. Just your feedback, any feedback, would be incredibly beneficial for the Prosperity Council. It's part of the public record. So it's in the public record that you said these things and you voiced your opinion in favor, in the benefit of Oregon startups and investors and all that kind of thing. So, take a few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, respond to the questions, provide some feedback, help guide the Prosperity Council. Please and thank you. Thanks. I'd really appreciate it. Okay. So enough of that. Maybe you're back. Maybe you have filled out the survey. Thank you so much for filling out the survey. I really appreciate that. This week, what I want to talk about is Silicon Forest Tech Summit. Hard to believe it was only a few days ago. Such a great event. Yosef and Ashley and Darren, the whole Steam Circuit team do an amazing job there. I want to do a little bit of a recap on that. Big news this week is Eclipsium raised another $25 million, which, you know what that brings their grand total up to? If you don't, I will tell you a little bit later. And another one with a Portland tie that's not quite a Portland story, but a Pacific Northwest story. There's a startup called One Court that won at South by Southwest Pitch in Austin this week, and they have a deal with the Blazers, so that's why I wanted to talk a little bit more about that and tell you what they do and congratulate them for winning at South by Southwest Pitch. And then a Pi alum has something new cooking, because I always have to use bad pie puns. That's just how it is, right? So I'll tell you more about that. I'm excited about it. Talk to them a lot. Haven't had a chance to write it up, but we'll give you more details about that. Okay, so let's get into, and there's so much, and I'm so fragmented that I'm really going to rely on the script this week. So if I sound a little stilted, if I sound a little more nasally and monotone this week, it's probably because I'm relying on the script a little too much. But I'm telling you, I'm just a little flustered. Flustered is the perfect adjective for what I am right now, both positively and negatively. Okay, so let's get into it. Silicon Forest Tech Summit. I always have such a hard time because I almost say Silicon Florist, and I got the chance. Yosef gave me the chance to get him on stage and he always invites me on stage, and I never know what to say. But I use this year as kind of disambiguation, like when you're on Wikipedia and you show up to a certain section, you're like, this is to disambiguate a term that sounds similar to this or whatever. So this year I got up on stage because so many people come up to me and they're like, oh, it's your big event this weekend. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How did your big event go? I know you do the big 1,000 people event thing. And I'm like, no, that's Silicon Forest. That's Steam Circuit. I am Silicon Florist. It's a bad pun. Matching Silicon Forest, which is what the region has been called since the 80s, and, Portland being the Rose City, I was like, well, if I combine those two, Rose City and Silicon Forest, then you get Silicon Florist. It's just a bad pun. But the Steam Circuit crew uses the actual moniker, still Silicon Forest. But sometimes people get confused and congratulate me for something I have no responsibility for or no reason to take credit for. I'm just an attendee. I just show up. I love it as much as you guys do. And this year, the trade show was crazy. Like, it seems some years that the main stage is like, wow, super exciting and crazy. The main stage was great this year. I got to see, a variety of amazing speakers. A keynote by Scott Hanselman, our friend at Microsoft, Scott Hanselman, and, a variety of members from the community, AI Portland folks, Juan Barraza, all kinds of folks got up and were able to give lightning talks and that kind of thing. Main stage was great, but the trade show floor was really above and beyond. This year, we had the Oregon UAS Accelerator, had a bunch of their startups there, so there were drones all over the place. Oregon AI Accelerator had some companies there. There were a whole bunch of robots there, like all kinds of different robots wandering around and moving things and talking to people and interacting with folks. The trade show was crazy this year. It was easily the most impressive part. And then, of course, you know me, love a bad pie pun, and with the, Silicon Forest Tech Summit taking place on 3/14, March 14th, I was like, I should do something. I should pie related because it's Pi Day. And I started an organization called Pi. What can I do? And, people are always like, with every event, doesn't matter what event I do, if it's associated with Pi, people consistently, is there going to be pie there? Are you going to have pie? Yes. So this time we had pie. Hundreds of pies for people, little individual pies, thanks to the Pie Spot for helping us out on Pi Day. Not sponsored, but great to have their help in getting those pies there. People seemed to really love them. We had a wide variety of them. People seemed really happy about the pie. And it was really nice because it was kind of during that, we served them at 3:14 in the afternoon on 3/14 to just triple, quadruple down on the whole pie pun part of it. And it's when you're kind of in that, you've been at the event all day, your energy's kind of drained a little bit, and you're like, I could just use a little pick-me-up. In this case, that pick-me-up was pie. So thanks to Joseph and Ashley and Darren and the entire Steam Circuit crew for putting up with that little bit. And I'm glad it made folks happy. And as always, I was happy to attend. This show just gets better and better every year. I can hardly wait until next year. And I'm looking forward to being there again. If you were there and I saw you, thanks for coming up and chatting with me. If I didn't get a chance to chat with you, we'll figure it out somewhere or other. But mark your calendars for next year. Keep an eye out for Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2027. And remember, it ain't me, folks. It's a whole bunch more talented people with way higher production value than I bring to anything. I mean, this is my production value, and it is about as far as it goes. So congratulations again to the Steam Circuit team on another successful Silicon Forest Tech Summit. I'm already looking forward to 2027. Okay, the big funding news this week is the folks at Eclipsium raised more money. They raised $25 million this time around. And, the thing about Eclipsium and many of the successful startups in our community these days is they keep a really low profile. They don't make a lot of noise, not terribly engaged in community. They're just doing their thing. They're building their startups. So it's always kind of shocking and surprising when, news comes out that they've raised a whole bunch of capital. The same thing happened last time around when they'd raised like $45 million. I kind of teased it at the front. Their total raise, they've raised more than $100 million at this point. Company in Portland, two former Intel folks, started a startup, raised a bunch of money, continue to raise money, are very successful, but because they keep such a low profile, I don't think a lot of people know what they do. So I wanted to take the opportunity to read kind of verbatim a description of Eclipsium and what they do and why investors are so interested in them. So Eclipsium secures the hardware and firmware layer, the stuff that sits underneath everything else: servers, laptops, network gear, edge devices, AI GPU infrastructure, supply chain security for IT infrastructure. If you're running anything, it's running on firmware, and Eclipsium makes sure that that firmware hasn't been tampered with. So there you go, the Intel expertise with how the coding interacts with the bare metal on the firmware kind of level, and ensuring that is secure, that threat vector is minimized. That's what Eclipsium does, and that's why they're so popular, and that's why people keep giving them money to keep growing and keep building. And they continue to build out a Portland presence. Another interesting part of this story, which came out, which I didn't realize, is they're very into building their office in downtown Portland because they want access to both the Intel talent out in the Hillsborough, Beaverton area, but then they also want access to the software developers who live on the east side and maybe don't want to go all the way out beyond the West Hills Tunnel to be employed and that kind of thing. So for those of you who've never been to Portland or have never experienced Portland's culture, this is kind of a little important context situation that I want to give you. In Portland, which is a city that is divided by a river, east and west, and divided by Burnside, north and south, people don't tend to like to cross those kind of main aspects of our geography. People hate crossing the river. They hate crossing Burnside. They just like their little neighborhoods. They like, this is where I live. I have everything I need within my neighborhood. I like staying here. It's just part of our culture. But it's something that people have to work to overcome. They have to work to mitigate that friction and find interesting ways to get people to cross the river or cross Burnside or, come from North Portland to Southwest Portland, whatever. They're just those challenges. It's a cultural challenge, and in many ways it's quite charming, and I appreciate it very much. But in other ways, you're just come on, just cross the river. It's fine. Anyway, Eclipsium building downtown, I believe on Southwest Taylor is where their office is, and then they also have an office in Argentina. So congratulations to Eclipsium on that raise. Super interesting, doing that cybersecurity in the firmware layer. This may be the first time you've heard of them. Maybe one of my challenges for 2026, maybe I'll try and get one of the founders on Startup Stories, or maybe I'll try and do an in-depth interview with them, because they are a really compelling startup. By all means and by all measures successful. It's just nobody really talks about them or knows that they're here unless they've done any fundraising. And maybe I should take on the challenge of correcting that and helping more people in town understand who they are and what they're doing, because they are a really compelling startup. They're a really great example of a kind of quintessential Portland startup of engineers building tools for other engineers, solving problems that no end user is ever really going to perceive or recognize, which is just where Portland does its best work. And I, for one, would love to have more people understanding and appreciating what's being built here. So congratulations again to Eclipsium. $25 million more raised, bringing their grand total up to, I believe, above $110 million raised in venture capital. Kind of a quick one. Full disclosure, I am an advisor, first round judge for South by Southwest Pitch. I think you know that. I've done it since, I think, 1922. I've been judging. It's been a while. It's been over 100 years that I've been judging, but I enjoy it. I like seeing the startups. I like helping South by Southwest. I like South by Southwest Pitch. It gives startups an amazing platform to share their ideas and products and companies with a very broad audience, wide spectrum, gives them global recognition on the stage in Austin. So always happy to help South by Southwest Pitch. Even happier when a company from the Pacific Northwest wins at South by Southwest Pitch, which is what One Court did. Double down on that happiness if there's also a Portland angle there, which there is through the Portland Trailblazers. So what One Court does is they have a kind of tactile, what is the word I'm looking for? Like haptic. I was like, when your phone or your game controller vibrates and gives you that response that you can feel the shaking, they have a haptic device that allows people who are visually impaired or would like some of that haptic response to help them follow a professional or collegiate sporting event. They have this device that you hold on to, you can place your fingers on, and as activity is happening on the court or on the field, that is translated to what they feel on their device. And I'm sorry to even go down this tangent, but I'm like, when I was a kid, we had that same device, only it was about yay big. And you had little characters that you put on it, and then you had this little foam football that you gave to one of those football players, and then you flipped the switch and it started vibrating and the players started running, and you hope that your football carrying player ran down the field. It's basically that, but it's for folks to really actually enjoy things. I think we tried to enjoy that vibrating football game, but inevitably all of the players would just kind of like collide a bit and then kind of like gravitate to a single corner and not really go anywhere. So it wasn't terribly valuable. This device that One Court has built is valuable and is helping people enjoy sports in an entirely new and different way. So congratulations to Seattle's One Court. Congratulations to the Trailblazers for recognizing the potential of a solution like this. And of course, congratulations on the big South by Southwest Pitch win. Always love seeing Pacific Northwest startups getting the recognition they deserve for the solutions that they're building. And I look forward already, like I'm looking forward to the Silicon Forest Tech Summit. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting called back for another year of participating with South by Southwest Pitch. Usually what I will do is like talk about things I've already written about. I will post something and I will say, this happened, and then this time on YouTube will really just be a recap telling you about something I've already written. But this time around, I still haven't fully written it up because I'm still trying to get my head around it. I'm still trying to figure out how to tell the story, but there are pieces and parts in my brain that I may have jotted down. So let me take you through some of it, even though the post probably won't come out until next week or even later if I have a week like I had this week. But the name of the company is Antfly. The co-founder is a guy named James McDermott. If that name sounds familiar to you, it sounds familiar to Pi people because he's a Pi alum. Came through our program, I believe, in the second year, which was Blueberry Pi, I think. I need to refresh myself on the monikers of each class. There was apple pie, there was blueberry pie, there was coconut cream pie, there's derby pie, and my voice changing. Anyway, so James was in the second class with a company called Lytix. I first met James when he was at Web Trends, right? Web Trends. Do you remember Web Trends? So for those of you in the audience who didn't spend a lot of time with web analytics in, like, say, 1997, Web Trends was one of the first and most dominant web analytics companies in the world. Came out of Portland. And then, of course, there was Urchin, and then, Google Analytics didn't exist. Google bought Urchin to be Google Analytics, and then they kind of dominated the market because the things that Web Trends was charging for, Google was like, oh, I'll just give that away for free. And, like big corps do, kind of eliminate competition by taking away their revenue stream, and that's basically what happened to Web Trends. James was there, kind of came out of the legal space. He was there. At one point, he and I were talking, Justin Kistner was there, and he and I and Justin were talking about maybe creating a co-working accelerator space at Web Trends. That's how far back it goes. So when I heard James and Aaron Radden were working on Lytix, I was like, oh, why don't you come into Pi? And let's work with you there. And really enjoyed that. The great team. Aaron was there a lot more than James, but no shade. It's fine. Like, it was the great space for Aaron. Like, James didn't need to be there a ton. But he also, in between the Web Trends and the Lytix, he wound up helping a company called Free Range kind of rebrand and exit. So that was a big deal. Then he did Lytix. And Lytix recently exited to an Austin company. Speaking of South by Southwest, they were exited to an Austin company called Content Stack. And so a bunch of people there have hit their earnouts and are ready to be thinking about their next thing. And that's what James is now doing. He's taking the opportunity to work on this thing called Antfly. And Antfly, I wrote it down because I was like, how can I explain this briefly? It's basically like using AI to make search way better, way faster, way more responsive, actually help you get search in a more compelling and authoritative way. That's the best way I can put it right now. Again, I will write this up, still wrapping my head around it, still trying to figure out how I want to help tell the story. But the nice thing about it, if you are technical and you want to experience what Antfly is working on, it has an open source component to it. So you can go find their repos on GitHub. You can install what they're working on. You can test drive it. You can figure out what's going on there. And I will share all of this in the post in the future, but I'm just so excited for James to be working on something new. I'm really excited for James to be working on something that has a Portland footprint again. And again, I will write this up more fully, but for now, just check out Antfly. Check out what they're doing. And this is one that, serial founder is rare. Serial founder with several successful exits is extremely rare around here. And seeing James really lean into this kind of AI era is super exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Antfly does. Love the open source component. We have such a rich history of open source. I'm so glad they're tying into that. Can you see why this post was hard for me to write? I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to end. I don't know where to explain it, but I will work on it. Just hold your horses. Sometimes I can't just bleh. Sometimes I need to think before I bleh. So let me think about it, and then I will provide more info for you. Cool. Have you finished your survey yet? Did you finish the Oregon Governor's Prosperity Council survey yet? If not, here's the QR code for you. Somewhere here is a QR code. Please, I don't care what day it is. Like, it could be a Thursday, could be a Tuesday. You could be watching this in 2029. Please try and use the QR code and see if you can provide a response to the survey, because your thoughts would be valuable and warranted. Okay. Now we're on to the secrets part of the show, which is, and my head has been itching the whole time. Secrets is really where I don't go out of character. I go out of YouTube character and just be me, grumpy ass old Rick, to try and just like give you some insights into what I'm working on and what's been happening this week. This week has been crazy busy in a good way. I did manage to get one of the startup stories out, which startup stories is where I sit down with the founder. I ask all the founders the same kind of I think it's 5 questions. I should know, but the 5 questions. Talk to them about what they're building, what inspired them to do that, advice they have for you as a founder, that kind of thing. And Maddie Neustadt from she's out of Bend and is working on something called V4 Final, which is in the kind of legally compliancy AI kind of space. Great conversation with her. Please go listen to her tell it. Don't listen to me tell it. Lots of founder meetings this week, and I was spending a great deal of time in Big Pink this week. I was bouncing in and out of Big Pink. Thank you, Jeff Swickard, for purchasing that building and purchasing the building across the street, because there's just like renewed energy there. And, Upstart Collective is in there. Some other folks are in there. It's starting to feel like when New Relic was there and Digital Trends and all this kind of stuff. And like, that's a big old building to fill, but it's starting to happen. And you can definitely feel the energy there. And I know folks are going to host more events there and all that kind of thing. So again, thank you to Jeff Swickard for supporting the startup community and for giving folks support and grace and helping kind of like reinvigorate the community at the same time that we help kind of reinvigorate an iconic landmark in Portland. That's just great. And only more to come with that kind of thing. Talk to a bunch of founders. There's potentially a new fund in the works. Spend some time chatting about that, meeting with a bunch of people about a brand new fund. I don't know how much of it is supposed to be public, so I'm even in the secret section. I'm hesitant to say anything, but just know that there's potentially a new fund in the works, new financing, which is great. Have you filled out the Oregon Governor's Prosperity Council survey yet? All right. Sorry. I just wanted to give it one last try because it's super important. I mean, beyond just the, I know I've ranted about the QSBS stuff, the Qualified Small Business Stock Taxation, which takes a, 10% chunk of whatever you make off of qualified small business stock, and that's concerning. But you can write about anything that you want the Prosperity Council to know. In fact, here's the QR code again, right here. Let me give you a little bit of inspiration. I'll just share a taste of what I provided as a response, and I will read it verbatim. And if you want to take part of it or find it as inspiration, just do with this what you will. Oregon's startup ecosystem is caught in an increasingly untenable position. We invest public and private resources into building companies here, then create tax policy that disincentivizes investment while also encouraging founders to leave the state before those companies produce their biggest returns. SB 1507 eliminates Oregon's conformity with the federal qualified small business stock exclusion, a provision that has been in place since 1993. So since before I moved here, the entire startup community that I know, again, I did not put this in the response. I'm editorializing a little bit, but in the 30 years I've been here, it's been part of all the growth here, all the startup activity, all the things that have happened. In my Portland experience, qualified small business stock was part of that, and they're changing that. So Oregon residents now owe 9.9% state income tax on gains from startup exits that are tax-free at the federal level, as well as in 45 other states. That's 9.9% of a successful liquidity event that often winds up funding the next generation of startups gone. It's true. Like, if people don't have as much disposable income, they're not going to invest that disposable income into other startups, into their peers. They're not going to spend that money in the city. They're maybe going to leave the state to protect that money. I don't know. It's just a mess. And the other part of it that I tried to highlight is just like the state spent $8 million, let's say probably all told near $10 million to build a network of regional innovation hubs throughout the state that are designed to be these connection points within the fabric of the startup communities, the many communities that exist throughout our state. And I don't think anybody talked to them about what was happening, which is entirely frustrating, because why did we build this network of support if we're not also going to use it as a means of communication and education for the electeds to understand what's actually going on in the startup community? So it's shit, I'm going to go into a rant again. I don't have the energy to rant. It's just bad. So no, I'm looking at my script because I didn't want to forget this stuff. The state spent $8 million to build 9 regional innovation hubs across 36 counties. Didn't talk to them. Didn't use any of that before passing it. And then I also sent them a bunch of, I've been writing Silicon Florist since 2007. So that's more than 18 years. So I sent them a bunch of blog posts that I was like, oh, here are some tax hikes in 2009 that hurt the startup community. Here's something in 2012, 2015, 2019, 2023. It's like every time we start getting some momentum, you decide to fucking operationalize some legislation that creates more fucking friction in the startup community. And why are you doing that? Like, what? Can you even spell economic development? Anyway, see, I didn't want to get ranty. Please go fill out the survey. I know I said I was done with it, but please just go fill out the survey. What else? A couple new... Oh, okay, let's end this on a high note. This is super weird, but not one, but 2 potential new pie experiments this week, practically on the same day. Not a lot to tell, but I'm pretty excited that organically, through no work of my own, I have benefited from amazing people in the community who are like, hey, we have this idea that, some of it is pie alums who are like, we have this idea. We would just like pie's kind of blessing or help or mentorship or whatever. That's one of them. And then there's another one that's just like, hey, we we like what Pi did. We can see a place for your advisorship or blah, blah, or whatever. So there could be not one, but 2 new experiments coming in. If you stayed this long, I will definitely keep you posted. Thank you for staying as long as you have. Thank you for putting up with my rants. Thank you, of course, for filling out the Oregon Governor Tina Kotek's Prosperity Council survey, because I know you've already done that because you're a real one. You filled it out. I know you did. Tell your friends. Get them to fill it out too. Tell your company. Tell your co-founder. Tell everybody you can. Fill out the damn Prosperity Council survey, because who don't love a governmental survey on the weekend, on a Friday night? Right? Right. All right. I don't want to get too ranty. This is probably one of those secrets that's like so long. My secret segment has gotten as long as the main episode, and you know that sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, kids. So I'm gonna let you go. I've been chatting at you too long. I hope you're hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.